Under the bright stage lights, Peter Sellers had the whole world laughing with his bumbling Clouseau. But when those lights dimmed, he slipped into the shadows of a man who could never quite find himself. In 1980, he passed away alone in a room at the Dorchester Hotel. They say his mother, Peg, kept a locked diary hiding the pain that left him forever a child. Britt Ekland, it said, held on to a notebook filled with the horrors of their nights together. Today, we're stepping into Peter's world, where the glow of fame masked a parade of broken faces, where every role was a piece of his soul lost forever. The stage lights were once his heaven, but could they have been the prison that trapped him for good? Was his death an accident, or a secret still waiting to be told? Chapter 1. A mother's love plants the seeds of crisis. Picture this just 2 weeks old. A baby is placed on a traveling theater stage, under flickering lights, like fate's playing a cruel joke. That was Peter Sellers, born in 1925 in Southsea, England, to a family of wandering performers. His mother, Peg, held him close, whispering, "You're my only light." Those stage lights, what Peg called heaven, felt more like a cage to Peter. Every time they blazed, a piece of who he was seemed to fade away. Peg's love was fierce, almost suffocating, especially after she lost her first son, born too soon and gone too fast. She named Peter after his brother, as if he carried the ghost of that lost child. To Peg, Peter wasn't just her son, he was her salvation, her everything. Night after night, he huddled in the wings, breathing in the dusty air of the stage, watching his mother transform under the lights, never quite sure where he belonged. No siblings, no real home, just Peg and an endless string of performances. Peg controlled every corner of Peter's life, school, friends, dreams. He grew up like a puppet under those lights, with his mother pulling the strings, dressing him in her hopes. But inside, his heart was cracking. He once confided to a friend, "I never felt like I belonged anywhere." The world saw a future star, but Peter only saw his mother's shadow and the lights that held him captive. Here's where it gets stranger, a story about a diary. A relative claimed Peg kept a secret journal, locked away in a chest, where she wrote that Peter was sent by fate to ease my pain. What did she mean? Was Peter a stand-in for the son she lost? That diary, if it ever existed, has never been found. But years later, Peter would dream of a locked wooden chest and whispers in the night calling his name, as if the past refused to let go. A close friend, Spike Milligan, once hinted that something wasn't right about that bond, not like a mother and son, but like a hand that wouldn't let go. The stage lights promised hope, but for Peter, they sowed the seeds of an identity crisis that would haunt him. Peg made him feel like a fraud, judged as the perfect son who couldn't fail. It broke something in him, trapping him in those lights forever. Was this the spark that led to his tragic end? And was his mother's love a gift or a curse that doomed Sellers to a life of sorrow? Chapter 2. A ghost beneath the spotlight's glow. On an old wooden chair in a BBC studio, Peter Sellers sat quietly, twirling a pen like a tiny knife. He was slipping into character Kenneth Horne, the famous radio star, once again, not himself, after serving in the Royal Air Force during World War II. Peter discovered his gift: mimicry. He could become anyone: a noble officer, a street thug, a bold phone call, impersonating Horne, opened the BBC's doors. But as he stepped through, the stage lights from his childhood followed, cold and unrelenting. In 1951, the BBC launched him to stardom with The Goon Show, a surreal comedy that had the nation roaring with laughter and inspired the likes of Monty Python. The applause was deafening, but the louder it got, the emptier Peter felt, as if he were watching someone else live his life. He married Anne Howe, had 2 children, Michael and Sarah. But the spotlight didn't bring joy. Anne once said that when Peter came home, it was like the stage came with him. The kids fell silent, and he'd turn on the radio, filling the house with someone else's voice. A family that looked happy, but was fragile as paper. He neglected Anne, rarely saw his kids, and carried a quiet shame. "I'm just a mimic," he muttered to a colleague. The world saw a star, but Peter felt judged, unworthy of the light. Then things got stranger. Peter would visit astrologer Morris Woodruff in the early hours after long recording sessions. In a dim room, red candlelight flickering, an old black book sat on the table. Peter didn't speak, just listened. A fellow actor said his face looked empty, like he was borrowing someone else's soul. Peter believed the spirit of music hall comedian Dan Leno, dead since 1904, was guiding him. A crew member whispered that Peter sometimes took strange pills to connect with Leno. His eyes glazed in the studio. Those pills, if real, might have quietly chipped away at his heart from the start. The world cheered his voices, but Peter was drowning in them. Each voice was a mask. When he took them off, there was nothing left, no Peter, just echoes of a past that wasn't his. This shame, the fear of being a fraud, was his first step toward the abyss. The public's praise felt like a lie, and he judged himself harsher than anyone. Was this why he spiraled later? Forever chasing a real self he could never find, Sellers touched the stars. But why did he still feel like a ghost? Chapter 3. Love and Control Destroy a Star. One late night in 1960, Peter Sellers walked through a dark hallway, the apartment silent. He woke Michael, 6 years old, half asleep, just to ask, "Should I leave your mother?" The boy, rubbing his eyes, didn't know how to answer his father's desperate stare. His marriage to Anne Howe was crumbling, and Peter didn't hide it. Smitten with Sophia Loren while filming The Millionaires, he let his emotions pull him away from his family. The world saw a dazzling star, but Peter was slipping, judged by his own guilt and the world's expectations. The audience's laughter cut like a knife. And when he and Anne split in 1962, he thought he'd found freedom. But the darkness was only beginning. Then came Britt Ekland's stunning Swedish star, Hollywood's darling, in 1964. Peter married her after just 10 days, swept up by her beauty and a need to prove he belonged in that glamorous world. But love quickly turned to obsession. Peter controlled Britt's every move, demanding she quit acting to stay by his side. Once, when she got a call at midnight, Peter silently unplugged the phone. "I don't want anyone pulling you away from me," he said, eyes fixed, cold as a darkened stage, Britt later said. He lived in a world of his own, full of pain. One night, a crew member saw Peter screaming at Britt in their London home, accusing her of betrayal. His jealousy was a cage, and Britt was trapped inside, with no way out. The pain wasn't just Britt's. Peter's soul was fracturing. He'd stand before a mirror, yelling at his reflection, as if arguing with Clouseau or another character. A friend of Britt's said she kept a secret diary, scribbling down the nights Peter lost control. Britt hid it somewhere, a thin black notebook, maybe still out there. Rumors say a page was torn out. Someone tried to buy it, but no one's read it. If that diary exists, what horrors does it hold? Was it shame, fear, or a deeper darkness that drove Peter to hurt the one he loved? The world adored his charm, but Peter was a prisoner of his own mind, judged by an audience that expected him to always be funny. His cruelty to Britt was a cry from a man who felt betrayed by love, betrayed by himself. The stage lights once promised happiness, but now they only exposed the cracks in his soul. This pain, this betrayal, pushed him closer to the edge, a love like a candle, brilliant, then burning down the fragile room of Peter's broken memories. Could Britt's love have saved Sellers? Or was it the spark that fueled his darkness? Chapter 4. The role of a lifetime destroys the man. On the set of the Pink Panther, laughter echoed after every take, but Peter Sellers wasn't laughing. He walked quietly to the makeup mirror, stared at Clouseau and whispered, "I'm not him." In 1963, that clumsy inspector had the world in stitches, earning Golden Globe and BAFTA nominations. A year later, he played 3 roles in Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, proving he was more than a comedian. He'd won a BAFTA for I'm All Right, Jack in 1959. And Hollywood opened its arms, but the brighter the spotlight, the darker his shadows grew. The stage lights, once his mother's heaven, were now chains. Peter hated Clouseau. By the return of the Pink Panther in 1975, he felt trapped, longing to be taken seriously. "I'm not just a clown." He snapped at a director, but every new contract, every offer wasn't for Peter, but for Clouseau. He became a prisoner of his own creation. The public and studios wanted more Clouseau, and the pressure crushed him. He clashed with director Blake Edwards, even punched a director on the Casino Royale set. A crew member swore Peter deliberately flubbed lines in The Pink Panther Strikes Again to defy Edwards, a reckless act or a desperate bid to shatter the mask eating away at his soul. Then came a night that nearly killed him, in 1964, while with Britt. Peter inhaled amyl nitrite for a thrill. His heart stopped not once, but 8 times in 3 hours. He survived, but his heart was scarred. Some believe he kept using drugs to cope with Clouseau's weight, weakening his heart further, on set. A customer once handed him a green jacket. Peter stepped back, eyes wild. "No, not that color. Another time." He smashed a mirror, stared at the shards, and screamed, "I'm not Clouseau." A cry like he was tearing himself free of the role. The crew whispered he was unraveling, but they didn't see the pain a man caged by the very lights that promised freedom. Peter was his own worst enemy, judged by fans who loved Clouseau, not him. Their laughter felt like mockery, and he punished himself with reckless choices. Clouseau wasn't just a role, he was a golden cage, locking away the real Peter. Each time the lights came up, he lost another piece of himself. Was this self-destruction the path to his final curtain? Sellers conquered Hollywood. But why did Clouseau become his greatest foe? Chapter 5. A happy marriage can't stop the fall. The lights on the Being There set faded. Peter Sellers sat alone amid the stage scenery. No one called for him. No one came. In 1979, his role as Chance, the naive gardener, was a triumph. Critics called it his finest work, earning him a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination. For once. He wasn't Clouseau. He'd married Lynn Frederick in 1977, a young actress who seemed to love him. The world saw a comeback, but Peter's heart was still a storm, trapped by the stage lights that once promised freedom. Lynn couldn't save him. Peter's temper flared, and he treated her poorly, just as he had Britt. He was haunted by his past. When his daughter Victoria, 15 at the time, watched Being There and teased, "Dad, you look like a fat old man," Peter lost it. He hurled a glass at her, told her to leave. A family friend said he wrote Victoria an apology letter but never sent it, too ashamed to face his mistake. That unsent letter was a glimpse of the man he wanted to be but couldn't. It's out there somewhere, folded, a fragment of his broken heart. Peter tried to rewrite his future. He planned to revise his will, cutting Lynn out of his £4.5 million fortune, fearing she'd take it all. Changing the will was legal but also personal, as if, unable to control his heart, he could at least control his legacy. In quiet moments on the Being There set, his eyes were empty, as if Chance was the only role that felt real. The world praised his genius, but Peter felt judged, unworthy of forgiveness. The stage lights once lit up hope, now only revealing cracks. This brief happiness was a cruel illusion, hiding the collapse to come. Did Sellers truly find light, or was it just darkness dressed as joy? Chapter 6, A Sudden Exit and the Mystery Left Behind. In July of 1980, Peter Sellers was planning a new chapter. He was set to film Romance of the Pink Panther and had arranged a dinner in London with Goon Show friends Spike Milligan and Harry Seckham to reminisce. But fate had other plans. On July 22, in an upstairs room at the Dorchester Hotel, golden light spilled through half-drawn curtains. On a chair, his coat hung, tie half undone. Peter's heart quietly stopped, no sound at all. His secretary, Susan Wood, said he was joking just minutes before, talking about old times. The man who made the world laugh left it alone, at 54. Peter's heart, worn down by amyl nitrite and stress, gave out. But was it just his heart? Some friends whispered he used amyl nitrite that night, not for a thrill, but to face death, as if daring fate. He'd ignored doctors for years, collapsing on set but refusing care. The world mourned a star. But Peter was a victim of his own despair, judged by a world blind to his pain. The stage lights, once his heaven, were now a darkness that swallowed him whole. Even in death, he left a twist. He requested Glenn Miller's "In the Mood," a song his friends hated, for his funeral. One last prank. But laughter couldn't hide the tragedy. £4.5 million and his children, Michael, Sarah, and Victoria, got just 800 each. Not because Peter didn't care, but because he ran out of strength to fix anything. Was his death a tragic accident? Or did Peter choose to let go? Unable to bear the weight of his masks, did Sellers pick death to escape himself? Or did the darkness pick him? Conclusion: a legacy and an eternal shadow. Peter Sellers left a mark time can't erase. Clouseau in the Pink Panther is immortal, a clumsy icon still making us laugh. The Goon Show-shaped comedy, paving the way for Monty Python. Being there revealed a depth few expected. The 1904 film The Life and Death of Peter Sellers tried to capture his chaos, but no script could hold his soul. He was a genius, but at what cost? His life was a paradox. He filled theaters but left his heart empty. His £4.5 million fortune went to Lynn Frederick, while his children Michael, Sarah, and Victoria got just £800 each. Britt Ekland believed he had bipolar disorder, trapped in a mind that refused help. The world loved his masks, but Peter was their victim, judged by fans who wanted Clouseau, not him. He once said on The Muppet Show, "There's no me, I had it surgically removed." Not a joke, that was his truth. And then there's the lingering mystery. 2 notebooks, 1 Peg's. 1 Britt's might still be out there. 2 keys no one's fit to the lock. A family friend said Peg's diary, maybe hidden somewhere, holds the key to Peter's pain. Did she write something that kept him trapped as a child? Britt's rumored diary might reveal the terrifying nights that explain his rage. Those secrets, if real, are lost to time, but they still haunt us. Peter's death, a heart attack, yes, but fueled by amyl nitrite, stress, and a shattered soul raises questions. Did he push himself to the edge, or was he pushed by life? Peter's story is a warning. Fame is a double-edged sword, slicing through the heart. Mental health matters, and no laughter can drown out the screams inside. He brought joy to the world but kept none for himself. On life's stage, Peter played 1,000 roles, but the lead himself remained a shadow. The lights are out, the masks are down, but the echoes linger. What do you think? Was Peter's death a tragic accident? Or did he choose to leave the stage? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's dive into more dark stories together. See you next time.